of selling leap puts. Normally, when you hear someone talking about leaps, they're talking about buying leap calls or buying leap puts. But what about selling leap puts? We're going to take a look at that here today. Now, remember, before you ever enter any options trade, please make sure you know how to close it. I'll pin a video in the comment section below where I show you guys how to close out of any options trade. So let's first start by talking about what it means to sell leap puts and when and why you would want to do this. So firstly, remember LEAPS stands for long-term equity anticipation securities. And it's basically going to be an option that has an expiration date greater than 1 year. So what I'm going to do here for today's video is I'm going to use ticker symbol AMD to take you guys through this. Again, everything I'm showing you here is just an example, so don't copy any of these exact same trades. But let's first start by going over into the options here for AMD. So let's go into the AMD options here. And so again, when it comes to leaps, it's going to be an option that has an expiration date greater than 1 year. So let's first start by doing that. Now, it doesn't exactly have to be greater than a year, just, close to that. So if we take a look here, for example, we have, this goes out to June 16th. The next one is January 2024. So you could use this one. It's not going to be exactly, a year, but it's going to be okay, right? So you could just do this one here, June 16th, 2023. Okay, so now we're looking at some leap options here. Now, again, we're going to be focusing on selling leap puts. So the first thing I want to do here is I would filter these to sell. And then again, we're focusing on puts here. So I'm going to switch over to puts. So here we are looking at potentially selling leap puts. Now, let's talk about why, when you would want to do this. And by the way, we're focusing on cash secured puts here, okay? And so when would you want to sell leap puts? So there's a couple of different things, right? Number one, you might want to do this to potentially collect a bigger premium, because the farther out you go in expiration, the more premium you're going to receive when you sell the put. And, why would you want to collect more premium? Well, for one, if the stock explodes to the upside and you collected more premium, you're going to be able to make more than if you only go out, a week or 2 weeks out or a month out. And then on the other hand, too, as well, if the stock drops quite a bit, you have a bigger cushion, right? Because you collected more premium versus if you, solely put 2 weeks, a month out, you didn't collect that much premium. So if the stock really drops, it's really going to hurt you, right? Now, the other reason you would want to sell leap puts is if implied volatility on these options here is higher than normal. Because remember, implied volatility does affect how much the value of an option is worth, because anytime IV goes up by 1%, the value of this option will go up by whatever Vega is. So for example, if implied volatility goes up 1% right now for this option, the value of this option will go up by $30 pretty much. So imagine if it went up like 10%, right? The value of this option would go up by $300. So anytime implied volatility is extremely high, you may want to benefit from that by selling that put option. So as you can see, kind of two different reasons why you might want to do this. Now, let's actually talk about selling the leap put here, what this is going to look like. So basically, you're going to go ahead and sell a put. Let's say I wanted to sell a put at the $75 strike, right? So normally you're going to want to sell an option here where the strike is less than the current share price, or in other words, an out of the money put option here. So let's say I wanted to sell this put right here at the $75 strike. So I would click on here. Now, what does this mean, right? What does this mean? So far, a couple of things here. Number one, you have to put up collateral because this is a cash secured put. How much collateral would you have to put up here? You would have to put up whatever the strike price is times 100, that amount in dollars. So here, 75 times 100 is 7,500. So we would have to put up $7,500 in collateral. Now, in return for you doing that, you're going to get paid a premium. What's the premium? The premium is shown under the price column here. So for this particular option, you're going to get paid $13.15 per share. Each contract controls 100 shares, so you're going to get paid $1,315. So basically, you're putting up $7,500 to potentially make about $1,315. And I'll show you how much that would potentially be if everything goes right. Now, one of two things is going to happen here at our expiration, which here is June 2023. Now remember, you can close out of this anytime before the expiration. So it's not like if you sell this put, you're locked in for the next 11, 12 months, right? No, you can close out of this at any point. You could sell this put, close out 4 hours later, 4 days later, 4 weeks later, right? You can close out at any point. But let's say you do wait until expiration. One of two things is going to happen. So either the share price of AMD will be above $75, which is the strike of the put that we sold, right? It'll be at 75 or above. If that happens, this option will expire worthless and you keep the entire premium, which would be $1,315. So you just made a really nice amount of money in 11 months, right? The other thing that could happen is that at expiration, the share price of AMD is below the strike of the option, so under $75. If that's the case, then you're going to have to buy 100 shares of the stock at whatever strike you chose. So here, if on June 16th, the share price of AMD is below $75, I would have to buy 100 shares of AMD for $75 a share, but you still keep the premium as well. So you still keep $1,315 here, right? So just by knowing that, right, number one, you only want to do this on companies that you really believe in, companies that you think have pretty strong fundamentals, you believe will go up in value a lot in, the long term. Those are the types of companies and stocks you want to be doing this on, right? Basically a company that you wouldn't mind buying shares of. Because again, worst case scenario here is you have to buy 100 shares of that stock at whatever strike you chose. That's literally the worst case scenario here. Now that I've talked about that, right, one thing I think a lot of people really kind of focus in on is the amount that you're potentially making, right? Because people might think, well, hey, I'm only making $1,300. That's not really a lot in terms of, how much I'm putting up. But let's actually take a look at how much that would be. And then we'll see how much, if it really is not that much or not. So let's go over to option strat now. Let's visually take a look at what this looks like. So again, this is a really great tool to help you visualize, what your profit losses might be depending on the date, depending on the share price, depending on implied volatility. So what we want to do here is we want to go to build, and under income, we have a cash secured put calculator here. And so we would go over to whatever stock we want to use. So again, for today's example, we're using AMD. We went out to June 16th, right? Because again, with leaps, it's usually at least a year out. June 16th, pretty close to a year. So we went out to June 16th. And then we said, okay, we want to sell an out of the money put option. So we chose the first one, which is a $75 strike. So this is what it would look like here, okay? So you're getting a credit, right? You're getting paid, right, when you sell this put, almost $1,400, $1,363. Now you do have to put up $7,500 in collateral. And again, you don't have to keep that collateral there forever because you can close out at any point in time. Now your max loss would be $6,137. That's if AMD were to go to zero. Very unlikely to happen, but that is a possibility. Then your max profit is going to be the premium you received, so $1,363. And then look at your break even. Your break even would be $61.37 or negative 21%. So basically what that's telling me is that even if AMD falls another 21% from now until my expiration of June 16th, I'll still break even, right? And so even if I have to buy 100 shares of AMD, right, at $75 per share, this would basically tell me that my real cost basis would be $61.37, right? So again, as you can see by going out so much further, since you're receiving a lot more premium, you have a bigger cushion, and you can see that here with the break even. The stock can fall even more, and you'll still be able to break even here. Now, a couple of things, right? The only place you're gonna make, you're going to make your max profit only if at expiration, the price of the stock is above the strike of the put you sold. So remember, the strike was 75. So again, the goal is for on June 16th, AMD to be above $75. If that happens, you'll make your full max profit of $1,363. Now, is that a lot of money? Well, let's take a look. What would your percentage return be in terms of the collateral you put up? Let's take a look here so we can switch this here. So that would be an 18% return in 11 months. Now, you need to realize that the average investor, right, in 1 year, so in 12 months, the average investor would make on average maybe 11, 12% a year, right, in 12 months. Here you're potentially making 18% in 11 months. So, for people who say this is not a huge return, it really is, because it's a lot greater than what the average investor return is, right? If you make 18% in a year, you're doing very, very well. So for you to potentially make 18% here if everything goes well, that's actually a pretty great return here. Now, a couple of other things here, guys. So again, like I mentioned, right, you can close out of this anytime before the expiration. It's not like you're stuck in this for 11 months. So let's say that, October comes, for example, and AMD made a bounce up, and let's say it went up like 26%, and it's at around $98 by then. So according to this, you would be up about $800 here. So at this point, $800, that's a pretty big percentage of the premium that you received, right? So at this point, you can go ahead and close out of it here in October, right? Which would be in about 2-3 months. And you could close out, take your $800 profit, you would get your collateral back, and you just made a pretty decent return. So again, it's not like you're actually locked in until the June 16th, the expiration. No, you can close out any point in time before the expiration here. And again, like I mentioned, the worst case scenario here would be you would have to buy 100 shares of a stock you really like, because you should be only doing this with stocks you really like, at whatever strike you chose. So it should be at a cheaper price than it was at when you actually sold the put. Again, worst case scenario here is I would buy 100 shares of AMD. My cost basis being 61.37 practically. So that's selling leap puts there. Again, you would do this if you want to collect a huge amount of premium right off the bat, in case the stock really explodes to the upside. So it allows you to collect more in case that happens. Or if it really drops down, right, it gives you kind of a bigger cushion. And then the other thing, of course, like I mentioned, is if implied volatility is really high on those options than it normally is, you can capitalize on that by selling that put, getting even higher premium than you normally would, and potentially making more money. So anyways, if you guys have any questions about anything I just talked about, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Check out the Discord, a link to it in the description below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. Now I'll see you guys next time.